All right, global players, I feel like I have made this video before, but I feel like what I'm about to talk about is more important than ever. So with the introduction of the new Esso and Kachisu event, we have been given a ton of phantom medals. So if you go in and complete the formidable battle on all these difficulties, there is pretty much medals at every step of the way, except for Extreme 2. The hardest difficulty, for whatever reason, doesn't have any there in the rewards, but hey, it is what it is. And then besides just going through the formidable battle, you can also go into the exchange shop and you can get medals here, up to 150 of those medals from the exchange shop. So what I'm getting at is, for the first time ever, because people have enough of these phantom medals now, they will be able to purchase a free-to-play SSR character. Okay, so if we go to the exchange shop and we take a look at the phantom medal shop, you will see that currently on the global side of the game there are two characters. We have Hanami and we have Jogo, and a lot of people are going to ask, well, which character out of the two is better? Technically there is an answer, but I have to warn you now, like, this is your warning, big bold letters, warning. There is another free-to-play character coming, and I feel like most people know this by now, but if you don't, that free-to-play character is going to be Mahito. Mahito is incredibly good. We'll talk about what all three of these characters can do, but specifically, if you go to Illusory Tower and you are looking at doing stages 21 through 25, you need a really good green character, and for a lot of people, they did not get Gojo. So 425 doesn't count. 424 does, sorry. So 424, they did not get Gojo. And Mahito is a really good free-to-play replacement for not having Hollow Purple Gojo, because he can carry you from floor 21 to 24. That way you can get all the way up to floor 25. So that is why a lot of people are going to want this Mahito and probably want to save for him, because more than likely he is going to be coming out very soon, like within the next month, I imagine, if not sooner. Honestly, like, he's very good. But I do want to say, I want to add on an additional note that Hanami is also a very good character, and I think, in my personal opinion, she is like every bit as worth it as Mahito to get a copy of. Okay, I have showcased her recently. The damage reduction that she offers to the team is phenomenal. It's absolutely crazy and very useful, and that can help you in not just like those 4 floors of Illusory Tower, because Mahito will help you in those 4 floors, but I feel like Hanami is the type of character that can be used on virtually any floor of Illusory Tower. So just keep that in mind. That's just my opinion, but I think she's fairly decent. Some people will, I feel like there's an argument. Some people will say Mahito's better. Some people will say Hanami's better. You know, it goes back and forth. I think they are both equally like good in their own right. It just depends on, you know, what stages we're talking about. And then as for Jogo, I'll just tell you straight up right now, he is not the pick. Don't choose Jogo. He is the worst of them all. So really the debate is, who should you get? Should you get Hanami or should you get Mahito? So I want to put it all out on the table for you guys to see. We will also cover Jogo, and we'll talk about what Jogo can do as well. So speaking of Jogo, we'll go ahead and just start with him. He is an attacker type character who is in post adjustment, by the way, right now. I don't think, yeah, we don't have a post adjustment 3, so he didn't get adjusted recently, but he did get adjusted on global already, so we didn't even get to really try him before he was adjusted, which is like so dumb. It doesn't make any sense. But anyways, so the post adjustment for skill 1, we'll just pay attention to the post adjustments. We don't even need to read the pre adjustments because we never got to use them. So skill 1, Ghost Lights, deals melee combined damage equal to 85.8% taijutsu and 115.8% jujutsu to the selected enemy. So just straight up damage, nothing else happening with that effect. His skill 2 deals 348.1% range jujutsu damage to the selected enemy. At level 10, it's more damage. So far, just damage. His skill 3, Ember Insects, deals 129.8% range jujutsu damage to one random enemy 3 times. Wow. And at level 10, there you go. So all of his command skills, very, you know, in my opinion, subpar. They're not great. Then he has his ultimate. His ultimate is like the best part about him. Domain expansion, Coffin of the Iron Mountain. So post adjustment deals 459.9% range jujutsu damage to all enemies, and he expands the domain. While the domain is active, he grants guaranteed hit effect and attack immunity nullification to self, deals 100.3% continuous damage flame to all enemies, increases own critical hit rate by 110%, increases own damage by 15%, reduces own damage by 15%, recovers own cursed energy by 30%, or not 30%, by 30.2, sorry. So he gets 30.2 cursed energy back. And then during this time though, he is unable to fill his ultimate skill gauge. So his domain is the best part about him. The rest of his kit is very subpar. So you can see why I would say he is not the free to play character to choose. He does of course have 2 auto skills. He has Violent Eruption. If own HP is 50% or below, increases own Jujutsu damage by 50%. This right here saves him. Honestly, without this, it's not very good. It's not looking too good for him. But if he is below 50% HP and you use his command skills, it makes his command skills hit so much harder. Same thing with his ultimate. It's going to help his ultimate out immensely. So this right here kind of saves this kit, honestly, in my opinion. And then he has the Essence of Curses, which all curses have. At the start of each turn, if cursed energy is 10 or below, recovers own cursed energy by 10. That's just going to allow him to use his command skills 2 and 3 more often whenever he wants to potentially use them. Basically, he'll always be able to use skill 2 for the most part. But yeah, that's Jogo. He's not super crazy. He's decent. He's an okay attacker. I would say he's like mid. Very mid, in my opinion. Now let's talk about Hanami. Hanami, I absolutely love. I've been using her on Global. I already have her on Global, and I am very happy with my choice. And I may not be able to get Mahito right away when and if he does come out, but I think I'll be okay. I really do, because I've already made it past the early floors of Tower with Hollow Purple Gojo, so I don't really feel like I need Mahito as much as I'm going to need Hanami. So I feel like if you guys have Hollow Purple Gojo and you've been able to make it past floors 21 through 24 and Tower, I think Hanami is actually the one to go for realistically. So post adjustment, nothing has changed for her characteristic. Post adjustment for her skill 1 deals 101.8% range Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy for 2 hits. The higher the enemy's ultimate skill count, the greater the damage. Her post adjustment skill 2 deals 292.6% range Jujutsu damage to the selected enemy. And then her best skill is her skill 3, Terrapulcra. Cursed energy cost was changed from 40 to 35, and what does it do? It decreases all enemies' damage by 19.8% for 3 turns, increases own ultimate skill gauge charge rate by 50% for 3 turns. Like, if you upgrade the skill rate, it becomes so much better. Decreasing damage by 33.3%, and it stacks because it's 3 turns, so that means you can do potentially a 90% damage deduction on all enemies if you just keep using this over and over again. It's absolutely insane. And then giving herself ultimate charge rate as well, so she gets her ultimate, is really good, because then her ultimate is going to be really insane as well. So Shining Sea of Growing Branches deals 462% range Jujutsu damage to all enemies. It's an AoE attack. She expands the domain, and then while the domain is active, grants guaranteed hit effect and attack immunity nullification to self, decreases all enemies' damage by 16.9%, so more damage reduction stacked on top of this damage reduction up there, and at level 10 it's 33%, so even more, and unable to fill on ultimate skill gauge during this, but like, it doesn't matter. It's so insane. The domain plus the skill 3 and being able to use both at the same time is absolutely ridiculous. I have seen, when I've used this character, 0 damage. Like, the enemy hits me and it's 0 damage. That is how good Hanami is. It's absolutely freaking crazy. Her 2 auto skills, her first one is called Regeneration. At the start of battle, recovers 13% HP every turn. That's phenomenal. That's really, really good. And then the Essence of Curses at the start of each turn, if cursed energy is 10 or below, recovers own cursed energy by 20, up to 2 times during battle. Why can't Jogo do that? I don't know. And then at the start of the battle, reduces own damage received by an additional 20%. So not only does she make the rest of your team more tanky, she makes herself more tanky with damage reduction from her auto, and then all of her command skills decreasing the enemy's damage. Hanami by far, like, one of the best free-to-play characters in the game. I dare say better than Mahito, but I know that's going to cause problems and people are going to get upset, because there's people that think Hanami is better. There's definitely people, like I said earlier, that think Mahito is better. So Mahito, what can Mahito do? So he is a green type attacker unit, and his characteristic: receives damage when targeted by reverse curse techniques, able to attack souls, weak to soul damage. So his kit, skill 1, Defiguration Attack, deals 133.4% range taijutsu damage to the selected enemy. If the enemy does not have a weakness to green type, changes the skill effect to deals 133.4% range taijutsu damage to the selected enemy as a type that the selected enemy has a weakness to. So basically, he's effective against all types, which makes him really good. Attacks without a type when selecting an enemy without a weakness. While the domain is active, depending on own jujutsu and enemy's remaining HP, instantly kill the enemy. Because why not, I guess. Like, that's really good, right? So his command skills already look better than Hanami's, but like Hanami's and Jogo's command skills are a lot more gutted than his. Like, he has a lot more here, but just because Hanami doesn't have as much in her command skill doesn't mean she's not good, right? Same thing for Jogo. So the skill 2, malleable appearance, grants miniaturization status to self, and it looks so funny when he does it. Fill his own ultimate skill gauge by 270. While the domain is active, changes the skill effect to deals 224.3% melee taijutsu damage as a type that the selected enemy has a weakness to. Attacks without a type when selecting an enemy without a weakness. Increases the selected enemy's taijutsu damage received by an additional 20%, which is amazing for the next attacker in the turn. Depending on own jujutsu and enemy's remaining HP, instantly kill the enemy. It's crazy, man. So like, not only does he fill his own ultimate skill gauge, if you have the domain, he just can instantly kill enemies and increase their damage received and do pretty good damage himself. He's kind of nuts, honestly. And miniaturization status allows him to evade single target attacks as well. Just throw that in there. His skill 3, idle transfiguration, deals 400% melee taijutsu damage to the selected enemy. Depending on own jujutsu and enemy's remaining HP, instantly kill the enemy. Once again, medium effectiveness for the instantly kill enemy. While the domain is active, changes the skill effect to increase his own jujutsu damage by 20.1%, deals 450% melee jujutsu damage to the selected enemy, and depending on own jujutsu and enemy's remaining HP, instantly kill the enemy with a high effectiveness. So Mahito, in my opinion, just absolutely broken, but then we still aren't even up to the ultimate yet. So the ultimate, domain expansion, self-embodiment of perfection, deals 666% range jujutsu damage to the selected enemy. At level 10, it's 1331. Deals damage equal to 15% of all enemies' HP. Expands the domain for 4 turns. That can be really insane if you have multiple enemies. While the domain is active, grants guaranteed hit effect and attack immunity nullification to self. Decreases own damage received by 20%. Unable to fill own ultimate skill gauge when using a skill depending on the own jujutsu and enemy's remaining HP. Instantly kill the enemy still. So ridiculous. Depletes own cursed energy after domain deactivates. Same thing like Hanami does, whatever, doesn't matter. And then unable to fill own ultimate skill gauge after domain deactivates for 2 turns. So it's a bit rough after you use his ultimate, but that's fair because his ultimate's really ridiculous. And then his auto skill regeneration. At the start of each turn, if own HP is 70% or below and own curse energy is 40 or above, recovers own HP by 8%. The lower own HP is, the greater the HP recovery, up to 16%. Inflicts damage cut to self, decreases own damage received by 12%. The higher own cursed energy is, the greater the damage received decrease, up to 24%. So I think he's really good, but I think he's kind of limited, like compared to Hanami and the way he heals, because Hanami just heals regardless, but he has to have his energy above 40, and that makes it a little bit rougher. Granted, when he's below 70% health, it's not that bad. At least it's not like 30% health or below, right? So it's not terrible, but his auto skill I don't think is quite as good as Hanami. So like, his command skill is better, auto skill not as good as Hanami's. Ultimate skill, I don't know, man. They do different things. It's hard to compare the characters. Both are good in their own right. Honestly, they're equally good. Let's just say they're equally good. And if that's not enough me saying it, well, let me show you the tier list for the JP players and where they rate these characters, right? So, starting with Jogo. Jogo is down here at the middle of the tier list. So the JP tier list only goes to B tier. It doesn't go below B tier. So any character that's not on this tier list is just considered not useful. So B, A plus, and that's where we find Jogo. Jogo is on the same level as Green Itadori, who has recently been buffed, and like, he's been buffed, he's a lot better. He was probably lower before, but like, he's not as good as some of these other characters above. And same thing with Jogo. I think Jogo needs a buff, honestly. Hopefully we'll see it eventually. We'll have to see. Green Hanami has moved up though, so that's really cool. But then if we scroll up a little bit further, then we get to the S plus tier, where you see this Megami. Megami's super useful. A lot of people have used him. Nanami, you guys know how useful those characters are. Well, Hanami and Mahito, both in S plus tier. They are both in the 2nd tier from the top. That is how good these free-to-play SSR characters are. So like, honestly, because they're in the same tier and you guys have seen their kits, go for whichever one you want to go for. I do not think you're making a mistake picking Hanami. I also just want you to keep in mind though, Mahito will probably be coming out soon. And by the time he comes out, if you do buy Hanami, you might not have enough to get him immediately. So just keep that in mind. But in general, just the big loser here, the big loser that you don't want to get, unfortunately, is Jogo. As much as I love Jogo, as hype as Jogo is, they did him so dirty. So I would love to see some buffs for him. If you guys have ideas for buffs, drop them down in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the video, please consider going down there, hitting that like button, hitting that subscribe button, and thank you guys so much for watching and supporting the channel. Peace.